Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at a few arguments in regards to the upcoming mineral changes and why as an industrialist this really should have little to no effect on you. Now, before we get into the meat and bones of this, I'm going to sit here and say I am not a CCP fanboy. I like EVE. However, CCP as a company over the years have made some woeful investments into EVE and other projects, i.e. Dust, Valkyrie, walking in stations, etc. They have made awful decisions in regards to a reinvestment in EVE and vanity projects that they have done on the side instead of making a half decent investment back into EVE as well as in carrying out other side projects. And now that Pearl Abyss has taken over potentially from CCP, I am a little bit happier all in all because I feel that Pearl Abyss is more business orientated and that they will reinvest money back into EVE in order for it to grow and to maintain, where CCP was always felt like they were looking for the next thing so they could jump off EVE and just generally let it die or continue to run. Now, Pearl Abyss has bought CCP out and are looking to make a return on their investment. So I have to assume, rightly or wrongly, that the decisions they are making are generally for the betterment of the game long term, and that comes back down to the mineral redistribution or shortage phase that we are currently in. Now, with a lot of the subjects I do cover, I do try to some extent to remain relatively neutral. I will give some of my opinions on what I think, but I generally don't go one side or the other because the game is constantly evolving, it's constantly changing. The rules, the underlying foundations of EVE slowly shift over time, and some of it is at detriment to the person specifically, and sometimes it's in favour, and you have to take the good with the bad and just roll with it. The game is not static, and that is a good thing. Again, with ups and downs come opportunity, come loss, and that's part and parcel of living in a fluid universe that is constantly on the go and is changing, and that is part of the beauty of EVE, which is why, you know, having a single sharded server is so appealing, because obviously everything affects everything in one way or another, and sometimes again you're on the winning side and sometimes you're on the losing side. So this general rant isn't at anybody specifically. However, if you feel it is specifically aimed at you, then you are probably part of the problem, and I generally urge you to listen to what I'm about to say. And if you have a decent counter argument, then I applaud you to put it in the comments or to contact me in game, because I am more than willing to listen to anything that can counter what I'm about to say. So with the mineral distribution change, it would appear that the sky is falling, the doomsayers are here, and EVE is now finally on its last legs. And this guy pretty much sums it up. I'm not going to read it out entirely, but he has 7 accounts by the looks of it, and he pays in dollars for every single one of them accounts each month. He spends 150 Canadian dollars apparently, which is a very sizable chunk. He pays for all 7 accounts, he mines on his accounts, he hauls, he's got an Orca, he's got Hulks, etc. And in high sec he can make about 80 to 120 million ISK per belt. Fantastic, wonderful. However, now that this change has come, that or will be coming, that CCP has announced, that he is now very upset that he will not be able to make anything in high sec anymore, and he is not alone. I've got quite a lot of comments with people responding very similarly, that they are not happy the fact that they are now unable to create the items, ships, etc. that they want to in high sec. So this guy has saved his money, he's bought an Orca, Tech 2 barges, have saved some, trained more, and he's now at the point where he's about to throw it all in because he can't do what he wants to do. So this guy, by the looks of it, mines in high sec, mines all the minerals he needs, builds ships, and then sells them back to the market. So the reason that these people are getting so upset is because they can no longer mine all the materials they want in order to produce. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's because they reckon or are still under the impression that the stuff they are mining is free, and now they're going to have to buy materials, and that changes the mindset of the fact that, yeah, the stuff that you're mining isn't free, you're now having to do a transaction for it. And the general reason I know this is because as a high-sec manufacturer, nothing has changed for me whatsoever. And technically nothing has changed for this person. They can still mine in high-sec like they have always done. If that floats your boat and you want to be a miner, you can still mine. No one is stopping you. The only difference is that now you will only be able to mine titanium. And so with the excess titanium that you will now have versus what you would have had before, you can now sell that titanium on the market, and with the proceeds that you make from selling that titanium, you can now buy the materials that you are no longer able to mine in high-sec. This, all in all, hopefully will stop people selling items at a loss, because they are not now able to mine all the materials for free, for blah blah blah, to build the stuff they need, which is generally, not always, but a good proportion of the reason why the vast majority of large hulls, i.e. Ravens and above battleships, etc., generally sell for a loss on the market. It's because people aren't valuing their time properly. And that's because of people like this guy here, that he mines all his own materials and therefore doesn't value his time properly, or the materials or minerals that he has mined in order to make it into said ship. This guy probably mines every single day, builds a ship once or twice a week, hauls it back to Jitter and sells it on the market at the lowest sell order without having a look at what the materials are worth, etc., and is therefore selling at a loss, which forces either everybody else to follow suit or to not build the item. And again, this backs up, I've had numerous comments on the last video I've done that how they are now unable to build stuff in high-sec. So I say, as a high-sec industrialist myself, nothing has changed. All the materials I buy, regardless of whether they go up or not, will go up in the exact same amount for everybody else as well. So if it now costs me 400 million ISK to make a Raven, it's costing everybody else 400 million ISK to make a Raven, and then I will be adding it to the market at the appropriate markup in order to make it worthwhile and worth my time. And pretty much every other person that will be doing high-sec manufacturing will be in the same position. They will have to buy the materials at the same price everybody else is buying them for, and will have to value their production time, etc., the same as everybody else. And so the logistics have changed slightly, but not a great deal. And we'll take this guy for instance. He either builds in Jitter, which we'll say he doesn't because he is mining his own stuff. So he is mining, we'll say 10 jumps out from Jitter, due to the index system being cheaper to build your stuff. Great, no issues. If they are building 2 or 3 battleships a week, they will still have to transport them back to Jitter one way or another, or whichever their local hub is. So they still have to freighter the items that they are making back to their market hub. When you get back to your market hub, you then buy, or you will buy now, the materials that you are no longer able to mine. Now, titanium is generally the single biggest amount of ore that you need, or material that you need in order to build an item. So as you are mining that on site, you will probably only have to do 1 haul of freighter for the rest of the stuff that you aren't able to get in Jitter. So now that you have transported your Ravens back to Jitter, you now buy the materials you can't, and then you ferry them back to wherever it is that you're building, and you rinse and repeat. So for the high-sec industrialist, nothing has changed, or for the high-sec miner for that point, has not really changed. Yes, you don't have the anomaly belts anymore, but you can still jump into the general asteroid belts and mine like you would have done pretty much anyway. Now in regards to nullsec alliances, life will change a little bit because now you will have to import titanium, and although the leadership etc. will have access to huge amounts of minerals, the general grunt or industrialist that is just knocking around will not have access to all the materials that are currently locked up there. So they will have to import the titanium and pyrite. Now that will be a bit of a bind because obviously in a jump freighter you get less than in a general freighter, so it will add some extra logistical work, and I can understand it from their point of view that obviously logistics isn't a great deal of fun and adds an extra few steps on and lugging around titanium, pyrite, etc., which again is going to cause some problems for them. But other than that, there shouldn't be that much of a change for nullsec industrialists. So all these people that are complaining that now the game has been wrecked, they can't play how they want to play, and that CCP has no idea what they're doing and the game is now in terminal decline. CCP are doing this for a reason. They're not doing it just to annoy you. They're doing this for the long-term benefit of the game, and yes, that does acknowledge that they have made some mistakes in the past, and they are now trying to rectify it. As I said at the start, the game is in constant flux. Things change, and sometimes it's to your benefit, sometimes it's to your detriment. Sometimes you're on the winning side, sometimes you're on the losing side. Suck it up. So as a high-sec industrialist stroke miner, nothing has really changed as it currently stands, other than you will have to buy some of the minerals that you can now no longer mine yourself. And the only time this will really affect you is in the coming months when CCP either reverses what they've done and puts it back to how it was, or whatever new change they implement. So the point from there is, if the price of minerals has gone up 20% at the moment, because of obviously a shortage, when they reverse that shortage and reintroduce minerals, they could potentially drop by 20%. And if you have then bought your minerals at a 20% markup, or at the current market rate, and then obviously the price drops, then potentially you will be looking at a 20% loss. But until that time happens, as an industrialist, nothing has changed for you in high-sec. And I think we'll leave it there for today. Again, it's a bit ranty that, so I do apologise. However, I would love to hear any counter-arguments to what I have said there and your views on it in general. If you can change my mind or give me something concrete enough to why this is such a huge problem and everybody seems to be losing their mind over it, then I am all ears. And again, I do read every single comment that is posted. And so the challenge issued is change my mind. Why is this so bad for EVE? And I will respond to any compelling argument or any reasonable, thought out, rational conversation to why this is bad. And so, thank you for your time, fly safe, thank you for listening, and talk to you next time.